Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Sajdah channel. You're tuned into the Sajdah Morning Coffee Talks, and I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. And we'll be right back. I don't know what we're going to talk about today, but we're just going to talk, okay? So be a friend, tell a friend. You know we're going to talk about life, love, and business. You already know that. And I'll be right back after a few short commercials and a beautiful prayer. Okay, be a friend, tell a friend, and I'll be right back.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Sajdah channel. In my intro, I said that I didn't know what we were going to talk about, and two people texted me and asked me to read from a particular chapter from my new book, The Art and Science of Business. You can get it. The website is right there. Okay. But we're going to read from the chapter that you requested called Becoming Investment Worthy. Becoming Investment Worthy. We're going to read from that chapter. I start that chapter off with a quote from Catherine Finney. She's the investor and founder of the Genius Guild. And the quote is, "I see the potential of untapped markets and communities. Ones white male investors are blind to. I have turned the obstacles I faced into opportunities." It's interesting that you all requested that, and maybe you saw the show that I did with the 7th Region Coalition, and we talked about the investment worthiness of us as Black Muslim business owners. And I made a bold statement, which people told me was very bold, but I believe it, that we are the most investment worthy group of people right now on the planet. And it's because of the body of discipline that we've submitted to that makes us most worthy. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, not saying that anybody else can't be that, but it makes us, I think, most worthy right now of working with just about anybody. I'm getting a buzzing in my ear for saying that. It gives us the ability to work with people from all walks of life. It gives us the ability to have empathy, sympathy, intelligence, and the pliability of mind to learn what we don't know, to be creative. And there's a whole disciplinary system that we have submitted to. And I want to say this to those of us that are Muslims, because this is something that came to me over something that happened to me this week. And I know that a lot of us, this is kind of separate from the investment worthy subject. I want to say this before we go into this. A lot of us are trying to protect other people. We're trying to protect family members. We're trying to protect friends. We're trying to protect folks because in a way, we feel responsible for the struggles that they're either in or could potentially embark upon. And I have to say that that is a form of arrogance, and it's very egocentric. It's a little bit of narcissism. And what Allah told me was, let go and let me. See, those people you worried about, they got the same God you got. They have access to the same opportunities. Nobody told you to get up this morning and pray. Nobody told you to go and read your Quran. Nobody told you to be disciplined. Nobody told you to take care of your family. You did it because there was something inside of you that was inclined to do it. And so people have to pick up their own cross, and they have to carry their own cross, and they have to experience the blowback of whatever they are putting out into the universe. That's on them. And so you have to take your hands off of it. And it's all a matter of perspective. Be there to support, be there to help, but you can't jump in every time the bell rings. It's not your fight. So some people are going to get what they're going to get in their lifetime, and you pray that they turn things around and things don't impact them in the way that you might be seeing it. But you can't jump in and control. You have to love yourself first. That's all I'm going to say. Be about that love. Be about that support. Be about what you can do to help, but you can't own it. You can't own it. You can't stop what's for somebody. What's for you and what's for me is for us, and it ain't nothing nobody can do about it, good or bad. With that, we're going to be reading from Becoming Investment Worthy in my new book. This line is across there because this is my author's edit copy. I just use it to read from. Yours won't have that. But it's The Art and Science of Business, and you can get it right here on the website. And so I want to read that because a lot of us, I've traveled around the world working with entrepreneurs. I've been very, very blessed. And it seems like almost everywhere I go, people are looking to either be investment worthy or for somebody to see them as investment worthy. Whether it's work I've done in South Africa to Northern Africa, but it's in Nicaragua, people are looking for somebody to say, hey, I like your business idea. Here's some money. Hey, I like what you're doing. Let me support you. And so it comes off as everybody's asking somebody for money. But at the root of a lot of this is that we all want to know that we matter, and we all want to feel investment worthy. And while there's a whole antidote to that and why we don't feel worthy oftentimes, something that I learned over the years is that I can always bet on myself. I can bet on myself and my relationship with Allah. And the help that comes to me is generally based on relationships I've built, ways in which Allah decides to bless me, whatever. But the focus is not always on, let me see what I can get from somebody else. And some of us are sinister with that, in that we manipulate and we steal from people. We take people's ideas. We see what somebody else is doing, and instead of supporting what they're doing, we say, oh, let me do that. And we try to take, we feel some kind of way of in having and taking from that person. But the bigger blessing, right, is being able to support and or invest in someone else and still allowing them to have their sovereignty. That's where our bigger blessing is. Because if I come and I invest in you, and I come and I take what you got, more than likely 9 times out of 10, it's not going to last. I'm going to get some kind of karma. It's going to be some kind of issue that's going to happen as a result of that. But if I come and I vetted you enough and I invest in you and I say, okay, sister, brother, you're going to keep your sovereignty. I'm here to help. And maybe I want to return on the investment. maybe I don't want anything. I don't know, but we work those deals out. But if that relationship exists and I boost you, now I open myself up for more opportunities to come to me. But oftentimes we want people to invest in ourselves, but we don't know how to make our businesses investment worthy. So this chapter in the book is both technical and spiritual, because that's what business is. It's an art and a science. And I'm going to be posting some excerpts on my social media pages from a show that I did on Thursday night where we talked extensively about that. But anyway, let me get into the read, okay? Becoming investment worthy. Many Black entrepreneurs operate under intense day-to-day pressure, meeting payroll, fulfilling orders, and managing crisis, leaving little space to think 3, 4, 5, I'm adding, moves ahead about investment readiness. We want it, but we're so inundated with what we got to do on a day-to-day basis that we don't know how to make ourselves ready. We don't know how to ready ourselves. In our mind, we're like, man, it would be great if somebody saw my brand and saw what I was doing and said, hey, I want to partner with you, or let me invest in you, or let me give you this opportunity. We're all desirous of that. But oftentimes we're so busy, we don't have time to make ourselves ready for that. Treating investment worthy as a discipline changes that reality. It turns preparation into a weekly practice that compounds into scale. Black founders continue to receive a very small share of venture capital. In 2023, startups with a Black founder received 0.48%. That's less than 1%. 0.48% of all U.S. VC dollars. That's about $661 million. And the total VC dollars that flow around is $136 billion. Okay. Among small businesses seeking traditional financing, only 16% of Black-owned applicant firms received all the funding they sought versus 35% of white-owned firms. This is according to the Federal Reserve. So what do investors emphasize and how do we prepare? Now, let me add something here. I don't want us running around waiting for that traditional venture capital firm to come and invest in us. Let's make ourselves investment worthy so that we can work with one another. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us in the message to the Black man, he said, 6 or 8 of you pool your resources and go into business with one another. How do we make ourselves worthy of that instruction? And if we understand that somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% of white-owned businesses are partnerships, family partnerships, friend partnerships, but they're partnerships. And there's something that comes before that that makes them investment worthy. Sometimes it's just that that's your relative. Sometimes it's just that that's your friend. But if somebody comes and decides, hey, you're my sister, you're my aunt, you're my niece, my nephew, you're my neighbor, and I want to pool my resources with you, and I want to invest in you, you want to come to the table with as much value as you possibly can, right? So investment readiness is important. So investors look for command of the numbers and repeatable cash discipline. Okay. Most of the time, I I take this model, and this is something that happened in the entertainment industry years ago. They generally don't partner with or invest in people nowadays unless you have a significant amount of skin in the game. Generally, by the time you find that big investor, that big partner, that person to come for you, you have more skin in the game than what they're willing to put in the game. They may just be willing to help you get over the hump. You may have put everything into it, and now you need help getting over the hump. I'm saying this to you, don't go to somebody asking them to invest in your business or help you with something if you do not have a demonstrated, verifiable amount of skin in the game. They should be able to come there and see an asset, see an investment, because this is going to help them to know that if they invest in you, you have the wherewithal and the will to make the business venture an ongoing concern long after they get their money back, or even to ensure that they get their money back. You got to show some demonstrated commitment. If a person is not showing you demonstrated commitment or a significant amount of skin in the game, you're going to have to be mindful before you get ready to invest in them. I give an example of myself. I have a few business ventures that I'm all in on, and I have invested a tremendous amount of money in. So anybody that works with me on those ventures can pretty much assure and lay down at night that if their investment comes in and I get over the edge, then I'm going to make sure that this venture is an ongoing concern. And whatever we've agreed to be the revenue stream afterwards, whether it's a repayment or whether it's an investment, you can pretty much take to the bank that that's going to happen, because I've already demonstrated through a resume that this is what I'm willing to do, or that I have skin in the game. And so a person like that is going to have a stronger will than you. So don't come in and try to take over what that person has, because you may not be that person that would put that kind of skin in the game and that kind of discipline. You probably would have said, I'd have sold out a long time ago. Then that means that you're not the kind of person that would invest, that should be invested in when it comes to this. But if you got somebody, okay, that owns that business, if they've been doing that hamburger joint for 10 years and you see they got everything into it, they've mortgaged their house, they got their children working there, their husband, wife working there, whatever, you see all of this, that's somebody that you could probably safely invest in. You may not have a passion for a hamburger restaurant. So if I came and they said, hey, we need you to give us $1 million to expand or get our restaurant out of a bind, I may not have the type of commitment and discipline to hang in there for however many years with a particular restaurant, but they do. So it makes sense for me to transfer a certain amount of wealth into their will, because now I know that that's going to be money that I'm going to earn, or return that I'm going to earn without having to necessarily be present. But if I go into the hamburger restaurant and I say, well, I'm going to take this over from them because they're in a bind, they need 500,000 or whatever, I can pretty much guarantee that the long-term return on that investment is going to be diminished, because I may not have the passion or the wherewithal to do what they did or what they've done. This is a real tricky thing in business, because we watch these larger investors that are largely white come in and take Black-owned businesses. And sometimes they last sometimes they don't. And we tend to mimic that way of doing business because we don't know any other way. But the reason why when they come in and they take that business, they have to invest so much money to make it keep going. It's part of why America is falling, because they keep this whole concept of taking and stealing and taking over requires that they have more cash and more cash and more cash, because they're missing the art or the spirit to make sure that that business is an ongoing concern. But if they would just invest, and you can put whatever legal things you got to put in place and then back off and let the art and spirit of that person, and along with whatever else you bring to the table, drive that business forward, they won't have to continue to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. So part of what's happening, the fall of America is multifactorial, but part of what is happening is that they keep stealing and taking. And so when you steal and take, the potential of that entity dying is very high. And so you have to keep investing and investing and investing to make it work. And it looks good from the outside, but the amount of capital infusion that's required, because there's no spirit, there's no art there, or you've taken a lot of it away, is very high. I don't know if I said that right, but I think, let me know in the chat if this is making sense. And so here's what happens. Then they have to go and borrow more money, whether you're borrowing it from banks, whether you're borrowing it from China or whomever, you go and borrow more money. And then you got to pay the price of money. You're borrowing that money to invest in what you've stolen. And so now you can't borrow anymore. So you say, oh, okay, we're going to put some tariffs in place. But it's a free-for-all trying to get more cash to infuse in what you've stolen. But if you stop stealing, stop taking from people, and partner with people and let their passion, their gifts, their desires fuel the business. Thank you, Sister Anissa. Fuel the business. Then you can back off some, and there will be less capital infusion that you have to put in. It's a very simple formula, because you don't have the passion for it like they do. It's not an investment if you take over and you steal it. So I'm looking at all these posts about, and I don't know the details on this, so forgive me, sis. I'm looking at Uncle Nearest and these investors going, okay, we're going to take it over. You don't have the passion for Uncle Nearest that she does. This is a family traditioned business. The best way to go strategically with somebody like her is to find a way to partner. Because if you steal it, you're going to take away the spirit of it, and you're going to have to continue to invest more cash, more cash, more cash, more cash into it to make it an ongoing concern. Now you may say, well, we'll just steal it and sell it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose part of your investment. It's likely not going to be successful, because the other business people that are around you understand that it was the passion of that person that created the business that got it this far in the first place. This is why being disingenuous when it comes to these kinds of things is a blinder. You can't see it. It's very narcissistic. Anyway, let's keep going. So I gave 1, 2, 3, 4. I gave 5 ways in which we need to make sure, and this is all we may get through today. But the chapter has a lot in it. We're talking about having solid financials. And I'm going to go over the solid financial piece now. There's market opportunities. Okay. There's a competitive advantage that I talk about. I talk about having strong leadership. I talk about utilizing, maybe we'll read that part of it. I think this is a better part. Okay, so this is how the chapter is broken down. Solid financials, okay? Gap clean financials, unit economics, having your cash way and runway burn numbers, your revenue quality, your controls and your cadence, all of that kind of stuff, right? You can read that in the book when you get your copy, when you go right here to the website, okay? Then there's market opportunities, okay? Knowing your ideal customer profiles, the evidence of your demand, segmenting your market, okay? Distributing your advantages, proof of scalability or repeatability, okay? So that's all part of the market piece that you're going to want to work on. Then you're going to want to work on your competitive advantage, your market leadership, your defensibility, your proof of concept. Okay. Then there's the strong leadership that you want to have, not only in yourself, but in your people that you hire. But here's the piece that I want to cover today: the alternatives to traditional venture capital. A few years ago, I did this. I was on this little Shark Tank tour thing through Africa. We did something in South Africa. Everybody wants an investment. Everybody watching Shark Tank. Everybody either want to be the shark or they want to be the person that gets the money from the shark. And the one side of the concept that I explained to the people who want to be sharks, because we met with those kind of people, when I explained to them about not taking away the person, not taking from the person who is passionate about the business, but letting their passion fuel the business. So you make money in your sleep because it's their passion. It's what makes them stay up all night. They're the one who are passionate about it. They're the ones who gave their all about it. Invest and set yourself up so that fuels it and you make money in your sleep. A lot of the sharks we were talking to, they wanted to go and gobble up people's businesses. It's because it's what we've seen the white man do. But you got to have capital infusion to continue to do that kind of thing. Somebody fall down and somebody have a problem in a business, then you go and say, I want that. You just may not be as passionate. Nine times out of 10, you're not going to be passionate enough. Or I should say your passion is not going to match their passion. So it's going to be a mistake. So learn to kind of be the godfather, the godmother, invest in the background, push them forward with their passion and their story, and let that is what creates that supernatural amount of money that needs to be made. You think Scott Bezos wasn't passionate about Amazon when he started? It started out where they were just selling books online. And if he partnered with somebody who had taken it from him, then Amazon wouldn't be what it is today, because it's been his supernatural passion that has gotten it there. Now, does he likely have silent investors? Does he likely have silent people who are in the background that are working with him? 9 times out of 10. But he remained the face and the passion of it. And that's how they've been able to build it into something that has literally changed capitalism almost. See, these people's passions, when people are born for something and they live and die for something, they have the ability to change an industry. And Amazon did that. It used to be that in order to sell, let's say this cup, for example, you had to open a business, pay rent somewhere, get people to come in, have a customer acquisition cost, and then sell it. You had to get them manufactured. But with Amazon, that little rent piece that piece that they charge in order for you to sell online makes it very easy for you to make money in your sleep. Yeah, Sister Anissa says, I remember that, and she thought it was a dumb idea. It's because whoever invested with him allowed his passion to remain up front. They didn't just jack it because he was doing so good selling books online. They let him go with whatever he was going with. And look what's happened today. Literally, Amazon is shutting down brick and mortar stores. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, so venture capital has become a symbol of startup success. But the reality is that it remains difficult for Black-owned businesses to access. And when funding is awarded, it often comes back with trade-offs, like we're talking about, in control and ownership. It's a mistake. But we do it because we see them do it. It's a form of greed. And this is why the whole venture capital world, they're running out of cash. And this is why these businesses need all this capital infusion. And this is why when you and I, who may not be as cash deep as these people, try to do this, it don't work out like people who invested with Scott Bezos. But we have thousands of Scott Bezoses in every field in our community. There are people who are passionate about what they do that you can partner with and make money in your sleep. Don't let your ego get caught up. Your passion cannot match their passion. If God put in their passion the desire to create the thing in the first place. All right. Okay. Fortunately, there are alternatives that not only provide capital, but also align better with sovereignty, community values, and long-term stability. I'm reading from my new book, The Art and Science of Business, and we encourage you to use this link here to go and get a copy of it if you don't already have one. Here's some other alternatives to venture capital. There's cooperative economics and community ownership. Pooling resources through cooperative businesses, community investment trusts, and group LLCs allows entrepreneurs to fund ventures collectively. Returns circulate within the community, building wealth at multiple levels rather than enriching outside investors. All right, here's another way. CDFIs and mission-driven leaders. Let me break this down. Community development financial institutions, that's a CDFI, and nonprofit loan funds are designed to extend credit and capital to historically underserved entrepreneurs. If you are cash heavy, let's say you're an athlete or an entertainer, instead of going and paying $300,000 for a watch or a car, you can go and invest that in a investment-ready entrepreneur in the community and make money in your sleep. You can literally create a Scott Bezos. I'm just using that as an example. You can create an industry disruptor. You can create a game changer. It's got to be structured properly. And the one thing you cannot do is go in and try to take over control and ownership. Because again, you ain't got the passion for it. And you're not going to match the supernatural passion of that creator. Okay. So while the amounts may be smaller than venture rounds, so I'm talking 350,000, 150,000, they often come with lower interest rates, technical assistance, and a focus on impact. So you may be in a situation, if you are an entertainer or an artist, instead of looking for a nonprofit type of situation, which really that game is over with. I don't know if y'all been catching that or not. If you understand economics and you read the landscape, it's a wrap for that. But what people are doing is they don't want to tell you that the philanthropic market is dried up. So they're making it look philanthropic, but it's really some form of investment or partnership. Okay. There's revenue-based financing. So instead of giving up equity, revenue-based financing allows businesses to repay capital as a percentage of monthly revenue. This model scales with your growth and avoids the pressure of fixed debt payments. There's crowdfunding, platforms that allow everyday people to invest directly in your business are powerful for Black entrepreneurs. Crowdfunding converts customers and community into investors, strengthening loyalty while raising capital. Let me tell you something about crowdfunding. Don't look at it as a get money quick scheme. Again, put your skin in the game and try not to use crowdfunding for capital projects. Use crowdfunding for that programmatic or operating concept. That way, you can ensure that your business can continue to go and grow, and those that invested in you through the crowdfunding can make that money in their sleep that they're looking for. Again, oftentimes the model in our community is, let me open a nonprofit, let me get somebody to give me money, and then we think we're going to profit or invest that money into capital funding. And then now, there's so many people getting in trouble because each state now has different rules. But the real good thing to do is to find those partners who are willing to partner with you. And that it may even be an athlete or an entertainer who has a name whose identity capital can bring more attention to your business. But I promise y'all that the charitable, philanthropic, nonprofit game is dried up. It's really, there's a little money still out there, but you don't want to get dependent upon that. And the states now are so aggressive because there's so many scammers out here. People going, oh, I'll get you funding. I'll get this. I'll get that. It's a scam that the states are on top of. And the states are even using people as mercenaries because they know that so many of us are so desperate for an investment and for money that we're willing to say, okay, yeah, I'll work with you and my nonprofit and you get me money and I give you a percentage and blah, blah, blah. They know that we'll do that. And they're using that, especially in high profile projects. It's a way to get some press behind a project. And then you could hide the fact that all these other people that are doing it, you're not arresting them. So what you want to do is you want to go into the situation with the person that you find with some type of investment or partnership capital type of arrangement so that people are getting something for their money. Okay. Don't play with these states and the way that they're drying up this nonprofit donor money because of what's coming down from the federal government. And if you want to book a consultation with me, I can explain. I got a couple clients that we're trying to get out of situations like that. Anyway. Oh, and remember, let me keep going. There's grants that you can look for in dilutive funding, federal programs, which most of which are gone now, but I still mention it, provide significant non-dilutive capital for research and commercialization. A lot of those federal grants now, a lot of that is dried up now. But the local government and corporate innovation grants also support growth without requiring repayment or equity. So there are grants on the corporate level and the state level that'll be a little bit smaller that you can still access, at least now for a while. But here's the challenge. There's more competition now for those grant dollars and that grant money because at the top it's starting to dry out. So looking for ways to make your business or your service organization monetizable, and then finding partners who you can return an investment on is the best way to do it. And if you're the person with the cash, do not go in trying to take over and control the business, the service, the organization, because your passion for it is not going to match the person who feels like they're divinely guided to do this. I was just working with somebody, a sister down south who has a homeless shelter. And she's got this, I won't give her model out, but she's got this really cool model between food pantry, homeless shelter, reentry services and classes and things. It's a really cool way she does it. And she's got some monetization in there. And part of the charitable pieces are the homeless shelter and the pantry and stuff like that. And so she was looking for people to partner with her and investors, and every investor wanted to come in and take over the organization. And I met with her and a potential investor, and it was a guy, a brother, and he's like, I don't feel the same way about homelessness that you do. I don't care that much about hunger. I just want to own this type of business. And I said to him in the negotiating session, I said, well, stop right there. She feels that way because she's experienced homelessness. She's experienced hunger. And I told her, I said, but you got to allow a certain amount of collaboration. But I told him, I said, but don't take that from her, because it is her experience and her spirit and her motivation that has brought you to the table in the first place. You wouldn't even be sitting here if it wasn't for her passion. And the light bulb went off and he said, I get it. I said, so let's find a way to structure this to where she has to pay you back. And then if you want to stay in the business on an ongoing basis, we can talk about that too. And he had some great ideas on how to bring more people to the table, to make things more visible. He's an ex-NFL player, so he was able to say, hey, I got groups of brothers I can bring in. We can do training, especially for the reentry piece with the men, blah, blah, blah. And so we came to this beautiful medium. And at the end of the conversation, he thanked me because he said, I've always studied under investments or investors that have come in and taken from our people. Because he, being an ex-NFL player, he's got a lot of financial advisors and things around. He said, that's how they always structure things. And I said, yeah, that's part of what collectively is wrong right now in America, because they keep stealing, and you're going to have to keep having money to infuse in what it is you take, because as Sister Anissa just put in the chat, it's her drive that will keep the train moving. So let her keep driving and let her be Scott Bezos, and you lay back in the cut and you figure out what you can do in the background to support and help. And you're going to make money off of this based on how she's put it together in your sleep. And so that was how that happened. Then there's venture debt and asset financing. Okay. For companies with steady revenue, venture debt or equipment financing can extend runway without surrendering ownership. That happens a lot in businesses where machinery is needed. There's vendors that will finance your machinery. We do that a lot in healthcare. You may have an X-ray machine, a radiology machine. There are vendors that will finance that for you. And some of them ask for a percentage of revenue based on billing. Some of them, in a lot of the plastic surgery cases, if there's a laser or something like that, they may come in and say, and you can structure things like this, like, hey, I know you need this new laser. Let's say for hair removal. There's a special laser for hair removal on pigmented skin. And let's say it costs $150,000. Then you as an investor can say to that dermatologist or that doctor, I will buy that piece of equipment for you if you pay me back at this rate, and if you pay me a percentage of the revenue generated off of it, because it's a cash business. So those are ways in which you can structure that kind of stuff. And then there's strategic partnerships and trade credit. Okay. Partnering with corporations, suppliers, or distributors can unlock funding in the form of advances, inventory financing, or extended payment terms. These arrangements reduce the need for outside capital while embedding the business in a larger ecosystem. Now, let me say this before we go. A lot of people say, well, yeah, but that person who's buying that piece of equipment, how do they know that this person's going to have integrity? First thing you have to do is, this is why not being a predator is important. Because when you go into a situation like that and you say, oh, I like what she said, let me get a copy of the book, she got these strategies in there. But when you go into it with a predatory mindset, you're going to attract other predators. Let me say it again. If you go into it planning to take, planning to steal, being a predator, you're going to attract predatory behavior. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to pay you back because you're a predator. But partnering in a different kind of way with a different kind of motivation. Hey, I want to, I met a client and they do these laser services for men who are transitioning. So they want to help take the hair off of the skin. Of course, women can use it, but that was his primary thing. And so his passion and why he was doing it allowed him to be attracted to other people with the same passion. And it was their passion that became the center of the relationship and the contract that we put together. So they're on their second or third part of the venture that I don't even talk to them. I touched base with them the other day, but they're on their second or third thing. They bought the laser and they bought this and they've done that, but it's the passion at the center of it. But if the investor had come to the table being a predator, being negative about what they were doing, not having a passion for it, then it would have attracted other behaviors. So they have a passion together with helping these people to transition. And so they have built this huge medical wellness practice around that passion. And so if you don't believe and have the same passion as them, it's going to be very difficult for you to jump in and have patience. So I hope this is making sense. So the art piece of it, the soft piece of it, is not all about let me go in and be a predator. And we got to, let me just say this. You got to stop mimicking the white man and stop mimicking the people that have been your bosses in the past. Most of us come out of corporate and come out of situations where we have had bad bosses. Or maybe they didn't present as bad bosses, but there was just predatory behavior around us. And so the book is designed to bring us out of that mindset so that we can survive here in America as the dollar continues to fall. So those old ways, those old antiquated ways of doing business just don't work anymore because the game has changed, and it has changed quickly and rapidly. Ask corporate America. All of what you see happening in politics, it's all because the game has changed so quickly that they can't keep up anymore. And if you don't know or have creative and strategic ways in which to do business and go into business, and you're just listening to other predators because that's what you've attracted. Sometimes we attract other predators because we have low self-esteem. Sometimes we attract other predators because we don't have morals. Sometimes we attract other predators because we really do love that world. We think we're gangsters. All of that's done. Half the people that are sitting in jail for federal crimes are people who are doing outdated and old school methods of stealing and doing business. And what I'm saying to you is that now we're in a space. We talked a little bit yesterday with the placement of Pluto. We're in a space now in business where you don't have to be a predator. You can be creative and make a lot of money. So that's what I wanted to share with us today. Being investment worthy and being investment ready. Please go get the book. I think it'll be worth it for you, whether you're in business, whether you're in politics, whether you are an instructor, a student. This book will be worth it for you. It is designed to be a supplement for whatever it is that you're already doing. Okay. It may not replace a full out program that you're a part of, but can it supplement? Can it motivate? Can it ignite? Absolutely. And I'm going to say this before we go. There are a number of things that are going to be happening in the business world that are going to happen rapidly, I believe, very soon. I was writing these things down. Anissa said, does the book talk about how to find like-minded individuals, like marketing yourself? Absolutely, sis. It absolutely talks about that. I go into that because it's important. But let me see if I can find. So let me tell you something. We give you 2 business tips at the end of this podcast. So if you made it to the end, you're going to get these 2 business tips. So if you're an investor, here's something to think about investing in. One thing that I think is going to happen is because we're going to all start using AI more, we're going to be using it in business. Companies are going to be using it. It's already being done like that. I was telling you guys how even down to old school records and vital statistics and genealogy documents are now using AI to help you find things. But AI takes up a lot of energy. Okay. And I think what's going to happen is these companies that are heavily reliant on AI are going to take up too much of the energy grid. And so I think what's going to be pushed through lobbying and through legislation is that as we move forward, energy is going to become free. And what we will be paying for will be the administration of that energy. So more solar, electricity and the electrical grid is going to have to be absorbed and supplemented by someone because of the amount of energy that AI takes up. So if you understand that AI is going to be mimicking human activity. So as a human, if I go in and I work in a factory, I bring energy with me that they don't traditionally technically have to pay for. They're going to pay me an hourly salary or hourly wage or an annual salary, but my energy transfer of putting that item together, they're not paying for. Well, with AI, they got to pay for that. Okay? Because that individual is not coming there giving their energy capital for free. Now you got a machine that is plugged up to electricity that is sucking up the data, that is sucking up so much of the grid. So they're going to have to find a way to make energy almost free so that they can afford to run these data centers. And if you have a business or you're getting into the administration of energy or recycled energy, anything like that, that is going to be huge. Here's another one. The markets of the world are going to become more interconnected. The leaders of industry and finance are no longer here in America. All empires have about a 250-year cycle. America is 249 years old. So it's going to fall. But what's being replaced are these interconnected global industries and global markets. So finding ways to hook your business in internationally is going to be very helpful. And I'll share more of this as we come back. But you want to become a global entrepreneur, an international entrepreneur. But you got to get over this American thing of looking down on other people. You can't go to these other countries and go around other people and being arrogant, because now those people are making more money and are more cash heavy than we are, believe it or not. So ways in which to connect people to international markets are also going to be big money makers, in addition to people who are connected. That's just my own personal prediction. Brother Lamont said true. And these data centers will be using small modular reactors, nuclear. That's exactly right. They're going to have to figure out an alternative. And if you can figure out how to get into that business and in that industry, you 9 times out of 10 are going to be massively wealthy overnight. That's the new game. Get off this old school stuff and let's get creative. Okay, family. May Allah bless each and every one of you to have a happy and beautiful Saturday. I'm wishing each and every one of you more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. We will be announcing the Readers Theater that we're going to be doing at the Elijah Muhammad House very soon. Don't forget, I've got some book tours coming up, and get your copy of the book. It'd be great if you get your copy of the book before you get there. That way you can ask questions and participate in the discussion in an informed manner. Okay. But if you don't get it, that's okay. We'll have some books there, obviously, but we want you to grab it, go out there, get your book now so that you're studying, so that you can figure out, okay, this is what I want to talk about. And I think sparking these discussions in group settings bring more information. I'll say this last thing. We're not going to move forward unless we start reading and studying. Okay, we got to start reading and studying. All right. Again, may Allah bless you. Love you too. And I'll try to, I was thinking about it. I'll try to go live earlier in the week, like one extra day next week, just to give you guys some updates and tell you some things, and to answer any questions that you may have about the art and science of business once you get the book and start reading and digging into it. All right. Peace and blessings, family. Love you all very much.